and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
Oh, what a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night, Hump Day Wednesday edition here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We are live as always on YouTube and Twitter. You can watch the show and join the conversation. Glad to have you guys on board the show today. Of course, you can always get in touch with the show because we got a lot of football to get to throughout the hour. You can direct message the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. We are also text board 609-403-0973. And of course, at 973 ESPN on YouTube and Twitter. Of course, joining us will be Dave Weinberg for a Weinberg Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN at 620. Also, we're going to do a little bit of each week. We're going to do a little bit of a state of the NFL here on Game Night. So the night before Thursday Night Football, Wednesday, we're going to get into state of the NFC East, state of the league. We're going to do this each and every week. And of course, that's being brought to you by my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's Casino in Atlantic City. Bet all the action in style this football season at the state-of-the-art FanDuel Sportsbook just off the boardwalk at Bally's Atlantic City. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And a couple things I want to get to here off the top, and that is some of the injury reports. So, it's always interesting to see the first injury report for a team because the first injury report gives you a very good look into what to expect from the rest of the week. And the good news for the Eagles is the majority of their injury report is due to rest. And of course, because of NFL rules, you have to list people. So, yes, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, Miles Sanders, Darius Slay, and Zach Ertz and Brandon Brooks all were resting today, which was the reason why they were either limited or did not participate at practice. So the Eagles' actual injured list is not the length that you saw online. It is actually just a encapsulation of just a bigger picture of what's going on with the team, which is today for some of these guys was a rest, kind of a reset kind of day as they get ready for the rest of the week. Now, the two injuries on this list that I am personally looking at, Rodney McLeod, still limited with a knee. Marcus Epps, DNP, concussion. I am still focused on this safety situation. I am not thrilled that you could be going into this game against a 49ers team that put up a ton of points on Detroit last week with Anthony Harris next to some young guy who doesn't have a ton of playing time. I'm not saying that I don't like or dislike or I don't have confidence in Kevon Wallace. But what I am saying is I am fully aware who Kevon Wallace is. Wallace has talent. He has athleticism. But if you ask him to go cover George Kittle or you ask him to go cover a running back, he's probably getting burned. Just being straight up honest with you guys. He's probably getting burned because of that. So, I'm concerned with what is going on with the safety position because Marcus Epps is at least a serviceable safety. And when McLeod and Epps are back there, it allows Anthony Harris to do what he does best, which is be a ball-hawking safety. So that is a situation that I think we all need to keep an eye on moving forward with this Eagles team. What happens at safety? That is the biggest takeaway from this injury report for the Eagles. Now, on the flip side, the 49ers have a bit of a more concerning situation when it comes to their injury report. Their injury report is very, very, very long. And I got to tell you guys, this might be the actual in the Eagles have to winning this game. Because number one, it's at home. So you're forcing the 49ers to travel cross country to your field, wake up earlier in the morning, adjust time zones. So you're already getting an advantage on them in that aspect. And now the 49ers have a ton of guys, and they're not practicing, not because of rest. These are actual injuries to point out. Armstead, adductor. Greenlaw, the linebacker, groin. Javon Kinlaw, freak D lineman, knee issue. Emmanuel Mosley, one of their best cornerbacks, left that's healthy, knee issue. None of those guys practiced today. Limited practice, D Ford, the pass rushing phenom, and another linebacker, Marcel Harris, oblique. And Harris is a guy who you would assume was going to get more playing time if Greenlaw can't play. That is a huge chunk of their defense that is either not going to play or will or will not be available, at least in a full capacity. If half of these guys don't play this Sunday, I expect the Eagles offense to be able to take advantage of it. And taking advantage of it is a big deal because as I wrote over at 97.3 ESPN.com, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app today, when you look at the NFC East right now, the Eagles are the only team with a winning record. The other three teams all lost their first game of the season. And there's a part of me that looks at this team and says about the 49ers, they might be beatable. If you would have asked me before the season, if you were doing like the win-loss game, right? Win-loss, yeah, who's good? I would have assumed the 49ers game might be a loss. But now I'm seeing all these injuries. My mind is starting to wander. Could the Eagles be 2-0? And you look at what the other team's dealing with. First of all, with Washington and New York playing tomorrow night, one of the teams is going 0-2. Probably the Giants at this point. So you know that that's one team that's going to be behind the Eagles. And then the Cowboys, they got to go and play the Chargers. And that's not going to be easy because they're going to do that without some injuries. DeMarcus Lawrence, he got hurt at practice today. La'el Collins, he's suspended because of substance abuse issues. We know that Gallup is going to be out for at least a few weeks. So the Cowboys are going into a Chargers game shorthanded. And the Cowboys have a very interesting schedule coming up overall. Because to me, I don't need the odds to tell me, but the odds makers are saying that the Cowboys are the favorites still to win the division. The Eagles and Washington are tied for second best odds at plus 340 are the Eagles and the Washington football team over at FanDuel Sportsbook. The Cowboys, they're still the favorite over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Their current odd number is plus 115. And when you look at their schedule on paper, it looks like there's some winnable games here, right? They're playing a lot of young quarterbacks the next few weeks. Sam Darnold, Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones, Justin Herbert, Mac Jones. They could, in theory, go 4-2 to their bye week, or they could be 3-3 because without La'el Collins, and then I got to go to the Chargers, and they got to go to the Patriots. I'm starting to wonder more and more over the next few weeks. There's a possibility that while the Cowboys are 3-3 and a team like Washington starts the year 3-5, let's say, the Eagles could be right there with them. Looking at the NFC East, I'm completely dismissing the Giants until they show me otherwise, all right? But for Washington, Dallas, and Philadelphia, Those are the three teams. And Washington lost their starting quarterback. Fitzmagic is dead right now in Washington. Dallas, they got some injuries. They got a guy on their offensive line suspended. It's not going to look pretty for the next few weeks. If Dallas is 3-3 to start the year, and then Washington is, let's say, 3-5 to start the year, there's a possibility the Eagles could be 500 over their first 8 games. And if that's the case, and Dallas is 500, and Washington's around 500, this division might be a lot closer than I think a lot of people are realizing. And speaking of close divisions, look at the NFC West. The team you're playing, the 49ers, they're a really good team before the injuries. Now there's a lot of injury concerns. And by the way, we don't even know what running back they're playing. You know, I mentioned this on Twitter. I think this whole running back situation might be a charade with Kyle Shanahan. Trey Sermon was expected to be the primary back week 1 against Detroit. He didn't even get activated for the game. Instead, once Raheem Mostert went down, it was Elijah Mitchell and JaMychal Hasty. I mean, people are losing their minds in fantasy football right now. Everyone's trying to pick up Mitchell right now, and people are trying to pick up Hasty to handcuff him. And right now, if you're a Trey Sermon owner in fantasy football, you might as well hold on to him because Kyle Shanahan may decide to bench one of the other two guys for Trey Sermon. Who knows? You know, this whole, how about the whole situation with Kyle Shanahan? He's trying to pick and choose which media members he wants to talk to him. That whole situation is just bizarre in and of itself. So the 49ers, they're in a division where they need to keep winning. That NFC West is the best division in football, in my opinion. All 4 of those teams could be playoff teams, but they all have serious demerits against them. The 49ers can't stay healthy. Another year with more and more injuries for this roster. The Cardinals, every year they start off good. Every year under Cliff Kingsbury with Kyler Murray, they go on these hot streaks. They play well. And then down the stretch, they lose games. Their defense collapses. The offense is not the same. Seattle, Russell Wilson, you know what he brings to the table every year. The matter is, does the defense keep up with the offense? And then Los Angeles, the Matthew Stafford era, new defensive coordinator. That is a competitive division. So the 49ers need this game against the Eagles just as much as the Eagles want this game at home in front of their fans. There's so many storylines, and we're going to dig into it all week right here on 97.3 ESPN, right here on Game Night with Josh Hennig and the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, you can join the conversation. You can direct message the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Download for free from the Apple App Store or from Google Play. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And we are live, as always, on YouTube and Twitter at 973 ESPN. Of course, if you have downloaded the 973 ESPN mobile app, you have already gotten the alert earlier today about the NFC East breakdown that we just talked about right here. More details over at 973ESPN.com. More of my breakdown on the NFC East and the odds to go along with that on the 973 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Of course, you can message us wherever you're listening to the show, as you listen on your radio, on your phone, online, watching the show. We appreciate you, all of you, joining us right here. And we'll get to all your messages a little bit later this hour right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you. And, of course, football season is in full swing, and you can catch all the NFL action at FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. It's time to experience sports betting done right with live streaming games, food and beverage, self-service betting kiosks, and more. Get in on all the games you love at the FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's Hotel and Casino, Atlantic City. The retail sportsbook is conveniently located right off the boardwalk, featuring 5 betting windows, a large video wall, a sports ticker, 20 self-service betting kiosks, and more. Of course, don't forget their lounge seating at the sportsbook. Get your game face on and score big this weekend when you bet with FanDuel Sportsbook only at Bally's in Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. We'll check in for another edition of Weinberg Wednesday with Dave Weinberg next, right here with yours truly, me, Josh Hennig, on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Ian Eagle here from Thursday Night Football on Westwood One. Join Tony Baselli and me as Week 2 of the NFL season begins with an NFC East matchup between the New York Giants and the Washington Football Team. Saquon Barkley returned to play in the opener from his knee injury in Week 2 last season. Now he'll try and lead the Giants in this big divisional matchup on Thursday Night Football.
Listen to Thursday Night Football on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 8 p.m.
Football is here. Get it on the action.
It's game time. Football season is in full swing, and you can catch all the NFL action at the FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's Hotel and Casino, Atlantic City. It's time to get in on all the games you love. Experience sports betting done right with live streaming games, food and beverage, self-service betting kiosks, and more. Get your game face on and score big this weekend when you bet at FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's off the boardwalk, Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here, Wednesday edition of Game Night, Hump Day edition, 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We are live as always at 97.3 ESPN on YouTube and Twitter. Each week we check in with the one and only Dave Weinberg for another edition of Weinberg Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, catch Dave's extra point columns over at 97.3 ESPN.com, where if you read this week's column, would have found out that Dave had a very, very interesting weekend. Dave, you are definitely receiving some criticism by different
by Mike Gill. Yeah, I heard that
happened to you this weekend, where basically, let me get this straight. You didn't catch the Eagles game. It didn't go the way you wanted, and you decided to write about it, which was actually a fun column to read. I must give you credit, but
thank you.
But beside that, as I have to pass along the message from Mike Gill. I mean, how did you let this happen?
That's my wife's fault. I blame everything on my wife.
Is your wife okay with you throwing her under the bus?
She doesn't really care.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the beauty of being semi-retired is you can pick and choose what you want to do. You're not beholden to watching every second of every game if you don't want to. And I just had the opportunity to play in the club championship in Cape May National for the first time in probably like 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. Only because I was usually, at an Eagles game this weekend. But it was a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday I played well enough to where I was in second place. So I very well couldn't drop out, just because there's an Eagles game on. So I wound up playing in the tournament on Sunday, and I was lucky enough to win my flight, which is really cool. I've never done that before. And then afterwards, I was, I thought about maybe checking out the end of the game, but I went to the New Jersey Surfing Hall of Fame ceremony in the Flanders Hotel in Ocean City, which is a really cool event for people that don't know. It honors some of the pioneers and legends of the local surfing scene. Guys who, got their start like in the early 60s when surfing just made its way here from California. And, this organization does a great job of honoring them. And I just felt that it was my duty or my responsibility to go ahead and help celebrate them and make sure that they got their just due. So that was the reason why. And then my wife didn't take the Eagles game for me, which I asked her repeatedly to do. So that's basically why I didn't see the game.
All right. Well, first of all, congratulations on winning your flight. Obviously, your retirement life of golfing has parlayed into you having some extreme golf success between that and then going down to the Carolinas a couple of weeks ago. But I will also say, does the runners of this tournament understand that football happens on Sunday? Do they just not care? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I've often wondered that myself because, like I said, I usually miss the tournament because, back in my previous life, I was always either on the road or I was at the lake covering the game. So, I knew I couldn't play in first. It makes no sense to play in the first round if they play in the second. Or why they do that? Right. There's been a couple of occasions where they've held it in late August, which makes a lot more sense to me because just besides me, I mean, there's nearly 100 people playing in this, and most of them are football fans, and whether it's fantasy or Eagles fans or Giants, Cowboys, what have you. So, it would make a heck of a lot more sense to have it at another time of year. You're right there.
All right. So with all that being said, obviously the Eagles
you're not gonna let me off the hook. Go ahead.
With all that being said, the Eagles did win the game. You were not watching it. So is that the reason why they won then? Did they win because you were not watching it?
Maybe that's why. Yeah, who knows? I mean, but I'm going to watch this Sunday. So if they lose to San Francisco, then I guess you can blame me for that too.
But on a more serious note, I had a conversation about this yesterday with Bo Wolf from The Athletic, and that is the team just looked different. Whether you're watching the game in real time, whether you watch the highlights, or you're the people who are struggling right now to make Game Pass work, because apparently Game Pass updated their system and everyone hates it. But wherever you're watching the game, I think it's obvious that this team is just not the same team that we saw in 2020. And I ask you, Dave, you covered the Eagles for a very long time. You saw many different coaches come in, come out. Can a coaching change really change the dynamic of a locker room so much that a team looks completely night and day?
Again, Josh, Nick Sirianni's done a great job, but I am not going to go there with Doug Peterson and blame him for what happened last year. The team might be different. The entire league is different because of what happened with COVID and everything. It was just a bizarre set of circumstances where, teams weren't allowed to practice during the off season. They didn't have any training camps. All the meetings were in Zoom meetings. Jalen Hurts didn't even get to meet Carson Wentz until like September or something like that. So I just can't compare this year to last year. If you want to compare it to 2019, okay. And if I were to tell you that it really isn't that much difference, yeah, a coach can change the atmosphere. A coach can change the culture. I remember Chip Kelly. He turned everything upside down when he came in after Andy Reid. I mean, it was just all about sports science and taking your temperature and sleep studies and protein shakes and everything was topsy turvy when he came in 2013. How different it is under Nick, I'm not real sure. I mean, you're right. He's injected a level of enthusiasm there that maybe wasn't there last year, but I think it wasn't there for a variety of reasons. And I don't know if coaching was the main reason for it.
So then, is it maybe the quarterback? Well, no, I'm seriously asking because we saw, and when we saw the Colts game on Sunday, saw Carson Wentz do the same thing he always does. Holds the ball for 3, 4, 5 seconds. His offensive line running out of time to block people. He gets sacked. You wonder if Wentz is injured. He gets up. He goes back, tries to throw another ball down the field. So I'm almost wondering, do we not blame Wentz enough for what happened last year? Like, the Eagles obviously turned Doug into the scapegoat, right?
Mm-hmm.
The organization. But do we not blame Wentz enough? Because I feel like we saw the same Wentz last year on Sunday in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I'd hate to place the blame on just one person, but I think Carson had more to do with what happened last year than Doug did. Yeah, you're right. He's Jalen is just a natural born leader, and Carson isn't. I got that sense way back in like 2016, 2017, even when he got hurt. Nick Foles took over. There was this divisiveness in the locker room between the two. And Carson just doesn't react very well to competition or to being threatened, and they placated him as much as they could. But Jalen doesn't worry about that kind of stuff. Jalen's like I said, he's been a leader since he's been in Alabama, Oklahoma, and teammates just naturally gravitate towards that. He's not a big rah-rah guy. He doesn't outwardly proclaim himself as the savior or anything like that. He just goes out and gets the job done, and players respect that. And I think that might be one of the big reasons behind what happened on Sunday.
Everyone who got to interview Jalen Hurts before week 1, because he was doing that tour for the FedEx promotion.
Yep.
They all said the same thing. They all said Jalen Hurts is serious about football.
Mm-hmm.
Football.
Rent is due, right?
What's that?
The rent is due.
Right. The rent is due. But aside from you ask him a football question, he's almost like a football machine. It's a little bit like if you ask Belichick or Saban a football question, they're going to get really serious answers. And I think that, to me, that's refreshing, because to me, one of the things I think the leader of your team needs to be is serious about the job, and then be understanding about the other things. Be flexible on the things that are not the nuts and bolts of the job. And I think that for Hurts, the fact that he is so humble, that's part of the reason why people are accepting of his leadership, not just because they're naturally drawn to him, but because of the fact that nobody in the locker room thinks that Hurts thinks that he's better than them.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he's a very humble guy, very down to earth, very centered. He doesn't worry about the outside stuff. You're right. He's very focused on his job, takes it very seriously. I mean, I'm sure he has fun away from the field. I'm sure he laughs and jokes. Maybe they go out to dinner or what have you, or have their fun in the locker room after practice or stuff like that. But yeah, it's when it's time for football, he's all about football. He doesn't worry about any of the outside noise, if you will. And that's refreshing to see. I think it does rub off on his teammates too.
Dave Weinberg joining us for a Weinberg Wednesday here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at Dave Weinberg 19 on Twitter, 97.3 ESPN.com, extra point column about his weekend. Go check it out. Listen, I want people to go read it. I want people to read it for themselves. I don't want to give away all the information. The whole point of writing an article is for people to read it. Not for me to tell everybody about the whole article.
I mean, everybody, I could have very well not written anything and nobody would have known that I missed the Eagles game.
That's true.
I just thought I'd have a little fun with it. So
right, exactly. And you got to have fun sometimes. But back to the football.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The other thing is, I remember, Dave, you were talking about after Nick Foles won the Super Bowl. You talked about multiple times about how they should have stuck with Foles and they should have moved on from Wentz.
Correct.
And to me, and when I say this, I'm not saying that Jalen is Nick. But to me, they both have something in common. The players go to bat for them. The players believe in them. The players rally around both those guys. I don't think it's a coincidence that you have two young men who played a big-time high school football in the South, then got to the NFL, and people could relate to them. I don't think it's a coincidence that there is some connective tissue between Foles and Hurts.
No, there's not. I mean, Texas high school football is as good as it gets and as big as it gets. Jalen mentioned that in his interviews, that Friday Night Light stuff. That's no joke. And I often get a kick out of skeptics or critics or media or what have you, and they'll worry about whether a rookie can handle the big time pressure of the NFL fans and 40,000 fans in the stands, what have you. And I laugh at that because Jalen played before 100,000 fans every week in Alabama and Oklahoma. And before that, Texas high school football, you see 10,000, 20,000 fans in the stands every Friday night. These guys have been playing under pressure their whole lives, and they know how to deal with it. They know how to thrive under it. And I think that is a connection between Nick and Jalen. And, Carson has all the talent in the world, don't get me wrong, but I just can't help feel that he played for North Dakota State. There was no pressure there, I don't think. I mean, they do have a reputation for success, but it's just not the same as playing at a big-time college. And that where he played high school football, I don't know if it was North Dakota or North Carolina for a time. It's just not the same. And, that's not to say that people from those areas can't thrive and succeed in the NFL, because it happens all the time. But I do think that I think Nick, in the case of Nick and Jalen, they were pretty much groomed from the get-go to have the kind of success they've enjoyed.
Dave, the other Eagles point I want to ask you about is, I mentioned this last week leading up to the game, and again on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
There are a group of people who just don't want to accept that football is won in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's because they're fantasy football obsessed. I don't know if it's because they have money on the game. I don't know if it's because they just never played football themselves. But to me, Dave, the fact that the Eagles' offensive line and defensive line are healthy is a big part of them having success.
Absolutely.
Look at the Washington football team. They gave the Bucs a run for their money in the postseason last year, not because of Taylor Heineke, but because that front seven down in Washington are a bunch of freaks. So to me, the Eagles, if their offensive and defensive line can stay healthy, I'm not saying the Eagles are going to win the division, but I think they can at least be competitive throughout the year.
That's true. I mean, staying healthy is great. Yeah, that's a real important thing when it comes to a football team, especially in the trenches, like you said, the offensive, defensive line. Everybody knows about their troubles last year on the offense, 14 different starting offensive line combinations. And that was why they struggled the way they did. And now that they're healthy, they have a better chance at it. They, like you said, they're not going to go undefeated. I happen to think they're going to lose on Sunday to San Francisco. But just the fact that they have those studs in them, and on the offensive and defensive line, that gives them a chance against any team. Not that they're going to win every game, but that it gives them a chance. You're right; they're not going to get blown out.
And that, to me, is the biggest key. For you to make progress, you got to show that you're a competitive football team and that you're moving in the right direction, Dave. Again, I'm not going to sit here and have be, oh my goodness, the Eagles are, no. I just don't want to see a team that's going to make me pull my hair out each week. And I think that's for a lot of Eagle fans, considering what they've been through with all the drama over the last couple of years. To me, it's just progress in the right direction.
Yeah, it is. It's a stability factor, which they've been lacking for the last couple of years. You're right. But, yeah, I mean, they do have a reputation for getting it done when it counts. Starting in 2017, 2018, 2019, they made the playoffs every year. And people came to expect that. Didn't happen last year. I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but I think they do have a chance to get to the postseason. And you're right. That's all the Eagles fans really want. They just want a team that they can root for, that they can show up on Sundays, whether it's at the link or in front of their TV or what have you, and find a reason to be excited and to care. And, that doesn't always happen, but the fact that they got off to an encouraging start last week, that gives fans a reason to hope, and that's all you can ask for.
Now, speaking of hope, Dave, I was going to text you over the weekend, but then I realized, first of all, what time it was, and second of all, when they lost the game, my text kind of got voided. But I was going to text you and say, congratulations, Appalachian State's beating Miami.
Yeah.
And then they go ahead and lose on a field goal. I mean, that game was absolutely insane. The fact that they were that close to winning it. But, for goodness sake, Miami found a field goal kicker.
Yeah, either they covered, which was good for me. But yeah, people tend to, unfortunately, or whatever, they know that Appalachian beat Michigan, in the biggest upset ever, really, a few years ago, and should have beaten Penn State a couple of years ago also. They got hosed by the refs, but that's another story. But yeah, App State's a big-time program now. They're in the Sun Belt Conference. They've won that conference, 5 of the last 6 years. I mean, they didn't win it last year, but that's because Coastal Carolina found a way to have a good football team for a change. But yeah, it's I'm no longer surprised when App State, takes top teams to the wire, because they've been doing it for the last couple of years, and I'm expecting them to keep doing it. I mean, I was really disappointed though that Sunday. I really thought knocking off Miami would have been a huge deal for them.
Oh, absolutely. And right now they're 1-1, and if I'm doing the math, then when they face Coastal Carolina, they should still have only one loss on their resume. So that game on October 20th should be a massive game, because both teams should be on winning streaks at that point.
Yep. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully they'll get a ranking sooner or later. I mean, I think they're in one of those. They're at the under consideration to getting a couple of votes. If they'd have beaten Miami, I think they certainly would have cracked the top 25. But hopefully they just keep rolling, and hopefully that Sun Belt Conference title will come back to Boone at the end of the year.
We'll see. I mean, to me, there's really only two challenging games on the entire schedule, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's obviously the Coastal Carolina game, but then the week before it's at Louisiana, just because Louisiana has talent. It's the game before the game, and you always wonder, are the guys going to be focused and all that kind of stuff. So just, it's always interesting to see, the mental makeup of a team the week before a big game as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually hoping to get to a game this year. I haven't been in, forever. Hopefully Mike Gill won't get mad if I miss an Eagles game to go see App State. I don't know.
Well, here's the funny thing. The Marshall game's on Thursday. The at Louisiana game's on Tuesday. And then the Coastal Carolina game at App State is on a Wednesday. So those are 3 games right smack dab in the middle of the week.
There you go. That's right. So I will have an excuse then, I guess, huh?
Well, also some of them are on Saturdays. So, I mean, it's not like they're on Sunday. But
That's true. Yep. Very, very true.
You just got to make sure you get down there while the weather is still nice. You get some holes of golf in, right?
Josh, let me tell you, I've been to, was it Boone? That was a culture shock for me. I knew it was going to be, I knew it was in the mountains, but the first snow was like in November. I didn't see the grass again until Easter. It was just, it was just brutal. Beautiful campus, great people, but the weather, you can leave it there as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to try and get there like in October or to see one before the snow starts.
That sounds like a good plan. He's Dave Weinberg at Dave Weinberg 19 on Twitter. Check out his extra point columns over at 97.3 ESPN.com. He joins us each and every Wednesday here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Dave, always enjoy chatting with you, and enjoy the rest of your week. And hopefully there's no more DVR issues in your house.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure. I'll make sure I watch the game this time live, so I won't have to rely on my wife to tape it for me.
All right, Dave, have a good one.
All right, you too. Thanks a lot, Josh.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Always great stuff with Dave Weinberg. We'll get back to the NFL conversation on the other side right here on Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. It's week 2 of the 2021 season. This Sunday, hosting the 49ers at the Link.
1st and 10, San Francisco at the 25. It's intercepted down the far sideline and in for an Eagle touchdown, Alex Singleton.
Pre-game coverage begins at noon. Merrill and Mike call all the action starting at 1. This is where the Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN. South Jersey's Eagles station.
After a thrilling opening week in the NFL, week 2 is here, and all you need to do is log into FanDuel Sportsbook and claim your risk-free bet. That's right. FanDuel is giving all customers a risk-free bet. Pick any week 2 matchup. Eagles versus 49ers, Jets versus Patriots, Giants versus Washington. You choose what game you want to ride with your risk-free bet on FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 rated sportsbook app in America. Their app is simple to use with unique fun bet types and always-on promotions to let you get more action out of every game day. If you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook, sign up today with promo code Hennig to also receive a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code Hennig for new customers on FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, play and present in New Jersey. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. As always, you can join the conversation in a multitude of ways, whether you want to join us through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. Direct DM the show, whether it's Sports Bash with Mike Gill, Game Night with Josh Hennig, whatever show you want to DM, you can contact us directly through the app, thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. And of course, text board is there, 609-403-0973. And of course, at 973 ESPN on Twitter and YouTube. You can watch all the shows here on 973 ESPN as we're live here in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. As promised, I want to give you guys a bit of a rundown on the rest of the NFL, the state of the league, as I do each and every week, middle of the week. By the way, latest update, DeMarcus Lawrence is out indefinitely with his broken foot. So he left practice originally with a foot issue. Now he will be out indefinitely with a broken foot. So definitely a real loss to the Cowboys, because you could argue that Lawrence over the last couple of years has been the best, most important player on that Cowboys defense. So if he's down and out, that's a bad sign for Dallas moving forward. And they got to go to LA and play Justin Herbert and the Chargers this week. So not exactly smooth sailing for them coming up. So definitely a situation to keep an eye on. By the way, we will have Cowboys versus Chargers, part of our NFL triple-header this Sunday on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, Eagles versus 49ers. Coverage begins at 12 p.m. following Billy Schweim in the locker room. And then Cowboys versus Chargers. And then the third game of our triple-header is Sunday Night Football, Chiefs versus Ravens, all right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Like I said, I want to get to a couple other things around the league, because we like to do a little whip around the league, what's going on. We talked about the NFC East and the NFC West. I want to jump over to the AFC West, because the Raiders' win on Monday night was such a massive moment for them. And I got to assume that getting a win like that is going to carry in that locker room, because think about this. Every team in the AFC West won in week 1. Chargers beat Washington in Washington. Denver won in East Rutherford versus the Giants, right? And of course, you had the Chiefs come from behind win, and then the Raiders win on Monday Night Football. And as I look over that division, you have 4 teams that are all riding very high right now. And those are all teams that are going to contend for not just the division, but for a wild card spot. Remember, there's 7 teams that make the playoffs now. So there's no reason why you can't have multiple teams from multiple divisions anymore. Like in the past, the assumption was, well, you got your 4 division winners, and then you got maybe 1 or 2 teams who are really fighting for the final wild card spots. Now with 7 spots and 3 wild cards, there's no reason why whoever doesn't win the AFC West can't also get into the postseason. And between the AFC West and the AFC North, all those teams in theory have a chance at the postseason. I look at the Chiefs and I think Patrick Mahomes He's the commander-in-chief. They will go as far as he takes them. Denver, that defense is ferocious. And as long as Von Miller and company are healthy, they're going to terrorize people all year long. And Teddy Bridgewater is a calming presence at the quarterback position. The Raiders, if they can get the production on defense they did on Monday night, they have a chance to be in every game this year. And then you look at a team like the Chargers. I think the Chargers are a team to watch out for. They got a dangerous offense. They got a defensive-minded head coach for the first time in a long time. Don't forget, in recent years, their head coaches have been guys like Anthony Lynn and Mike McCoy and Norv Turner and Marty Schottenheimer. It's been a while since the Chargers organization had a head coach who comes from a defensive background. So this is a change in culture. This is a change in mentality that Brandon Staley is bringing into the Chargers organization. So keep an eye on all four of those teams in the AFC West. Now, bouncing over to the AFC North, I got to tell you something. If the Steelers defense can play the way they did versus Buffalo the rest of this year, I think they're going to win the division. Before the year began, I thought this was Baltimore's division to lose. I thought the Browns would be their number one competitor throughout the year. I thought it would come down to the Ravens and the Browns. Now, with all the injuries that Baltimore has at numerous positions, I don't know if they can win the division. And to me, it's going to come down to the Steelers' offense and the Browns' consistency. If the Browns can be consistent, they can win the division. If the Steelers' defense is going to just punch people every week in the face and dare them to punch them back, they're going to win the division to me. I think the AFC West and the AFC North and the NFC West are the two best divisions of football, with the AFC West just behind them. I put them just behind is because I think that Denver's quarterback and the Raiders roster is just not on the same caliber as the teams in the other two divisions. Josh Hennig here on GameNight on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, the NFL is back, and FanDuel Sportsbook wants to get you the most out of every game day. That's why they're giving everyone a $10 risk-free bet every week. All you have to do is bet a same-game parlay bet with 3 legs or more. And if your bet doesn't win, FanDuel will pay you back up to $10. A same-game parlay allows you to combine multiple bets from one matchup or team into a single parlay to go for an even bigger win. Offers like this are just one of the reasons I love betting football on FanDuel Sportsbook, the number one rated sportsbook app in America. There's no feeling like nailing a same-game parlay bet. So lock in your bet today on FanDuel Sportsbook and get up to $10 back if your bet doesn't win. If you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook, you can also claim your 30-1 odds on the biggest game this Sunday, Chiefs versus Ravens. Just sign up with promo code Hennig for 30-1 odds on either the Chiefs or the Ravens to win. That's promo code Hennig on FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, play and present in New Jersey. Refund issued is not withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $10. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Same game parlay available for multiple sports in all states on mobile or web. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Thanks again to Dave Weinberg for joining us on the show today. So each and every Wednesday. Tomorrow we got Amy McNamara with Sportsnet. If you have any fantasy football or NFL thoughts or comments, we will got you covered all on Thursday on 97.3 ESPN. The Sports Bets might kill 2 to 6. And then GameNight with yours truly, Josh Hennig. And of course, Andy McNamara will join us on the show tomorrow night. I'm Josh Hennig. I'm Josh Hennig on Twitter. I appreciate everybody for listening today. I'll catch you tomorrow right here on 97.3 ESPN.